Cool, I'm ready.
Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. It's the Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach, Giovanni, and I help those with endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome reduce chronic pain, eliminate stress, and minimize irregular or heavy periods through my M to the third degree healing empowerment formula. Y'all, check the description and get that link and dive into mindset, mindful eating, and movement. And today, which one are we talking about with our special guest, April Smith? You'll know on the other side of you know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all.
Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Hey, let's go.
Y'all, today we have April Smith, a multi-passionate entrepreneur, project manager, and the visionary founder of One Day Brand. Y'all, April's journey from a family-driven decision to go vegan to creating the transformative daily execution planner is a testament to the power of setting and achieving health goals. Her story is one of resilience, mindfulness, and strategic planning, elements that have not only improved her health, but also propelled her success in her business. Y'all, today, April will share her insights on the importance of understanding your why, your absolute why, and staying motivated while you also giving you some grace as you pursue your health goals, because we all need grace. No one is in this perfection vibe. And get ready to just be enlightened by her conversation. Y'all, welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, April Smith.
Oh, JoJo, what an amazing introduction, amazing podcast. I love the focal points that you have and what you're desiring to do, all of the things. So I'm happy to be here with you, and I'm honored. I really, really am.
Yeah, I appreciate you for being here, April. I appreciate you for being here and vibing with us, y'all. If this is your first time on the Empowered Plates and Empowered Lives podcast, stick around. If you're enjoying the vibes already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure you send this podcast episode, if you're listening on your podcast distribution platform of your absolute favorite, to someone else, but also rate it and leave a comment of a takeaway as we dive into this conversation with the One Day Brand founder. Yes. April Smith. April, so we talked about this change. You talked about now being plant-based. What caused you to dive into this shift of a plant-based lifestyle and adopt these habits of eating plant-based and being more conscious of what you're eating? And what was like the biggest shock that came from turning and pivoting into this direction?
Yeah, well, great question for me. So I have been plant-based, I would say, since 2016, 17. I was just starting business school. And when you're getting ready to start business school, you're going to get into eating just random stuff because life is happening. You're doing this, you're doing that. And I was like, I am not going to get a freshman 12 or freshman 15, and I am not a freshman in college, right? So I'm just not doing it. So I was being intentional about that from the start. But what really drove home for me is that, unfortunately, my grandmother passed right before I started business school. My grandmother actually had breast cancer. And one of the things that I learned through her journey of breast cancer is that my family more than likely has a gene, and it's a gene that can be, I can't think of the name and how to pronounce it exactly, but what it basically means is there's a genetic gene within my family that basically could spike or increase the likelihood of me having breast cancer. It's on my father's side, my paternal grandmother. My great aunt, which is my grandmother's sister, had breast cancer. Her daughter, which is my grandmother's, my grandmother's daughter, my aunt, also had breast cancer. I had 3 or 4 other cousins that had breast cancer. And in total, about 9 to 12 family members all have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And so my dad, right, his sister died of breast cancer at 40. And my youngest cousin at the age of 28 was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it runs deep. So one of the things I learned from this is that I can reduce the likelihood of me getting breast cancer through my diet and being able to manage stress. And one of the things that could be directly connected with it could be meat. So that's what I've learned, right? So I made the adjustment and I decided to go vegan. Now, granted, I didn't know how to go about doing it. I read a book called The Happy Vegan by Russell Simmons. It was life-changing. So when I learned about it, I was like, let me learn a little bit more what I need to do in order to make this thing happen. So I read it like Christmas Day. I got it for Christmas as a gift. And I went cold turkey from January. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm doing this lifestyle, but I wasn't getting enough protein. So on my birthday, February 4th, I was in a hospital in the emergency room. I could not breathe. My body was basically shutting down because it wasn't getting enough protein. And so as a result, the doctor said, look, you made this change in your diet, but you didn't identify what foods would actually nurture you, and your body went into shock. Right. And so I learned from that, go after what it is that you want, be intentional, right? Go for it, but make sure you're going after it with the right methods, tools, mentors, and guidance in order to do it. But now it's 2024, and I have been, vegan, vegetarian basically for a very, very long time. I have not looked back.
Hey, thank you for walking us through that pivotal moment for you and that enlightenment that you got and how you got it. And it just wasn't I just saw something and I made the change. First of all, that's a deep level of breast cancer history in your family, and that's a lot of people. Like, are you the only person in your family that has started to make lifestyle changes because you've seen so many loved ones be impacted by breast cancer?
Not by much, no. I think that for a lot of people, it's kind of like, why? That's too much. I ain't doing all of that. I think that we're aware of it. And so we've done other things, right? So we're just kind of doing the mammograms or the self-examinations, talking about it, reminding ourselves about making sure that we're mindful of it. But a lot of them don't necessarily, haven't really made the diet shift or change. But I know for me, I've seen the benefits. I found a lump in my breast. It was a cyst. It was removed. I found it early. And so I make sure that I stay on a regimen of every 6 months going to get a mammogram. And so now I'm 40, right? And so I'm at less risk of having the mammogram and not have a challenge with like the doctors and say, you can't do this or you can't. But I started when I was like, I think like 30. Of monitoring it and making sure I was going on a consistent basis. I haven't always been consistent, but at least once a year, I'm like, hey, I probably should go do this thing, get checked out. But I do really good with my diet.
That is beautiful. And I thank you for sharing the benefits of not only shifting your lifestyle, but also being intentional about getting the screening and knowing what's really happening with your body. So you're tracking any changes, and that's power within itself. And I think too many times we're not using the power that we actually have in the right way to make sure that we're doing everything we can to live a vibrant life and be knowledgeable of the things that's going on, because it's easy to see the outside of our body, but we definitely can't see on the inside. And so we're not intentional about what we're consuming, and that's mentally, emotionally, physically. And I like that you said, he told me that I needed to identify foods of nourishment.
Right.
And that's big, got to nourish and flourish vibes mukbang, because mukbangs are typically where you see a lot of people eating unhealthy things and a lot of food of unhealthy things. And I was like, you know what? I'm a foodie. I absolutely love food. So let me eat a lot of healthy foods consistently and show people why it's important to use functional nutrition to enjoy life and have a good relationship with food. So I love that he gave you that educational moment. And was it after getting that type of information, being in the hospital with that lack of protein, is that what got you into reading the book, A Healthy Vegan by Russell Simmons, so you could get more knowledgeable, or did you read it prior to?
I read it prior to the incident, because I had learned about the idea that there were connections between what you eat and cancer. And actually, there were 2 books by Russell Simmons. One was Success Through Stillness, and then the second one was The Happy Vegan. Now, this was 2016, 2015 that I had read these books. I was being exposed to things. So I also meditate. And so Russell Simmons was big on meditation. Like, what is this thing about meditation and sitting still? And that's where things really took off for me. So I think that there's a lifestyle that comes along with it. And it's this original thought process of people who meditate and that they're vegans and they're weird and they're hobo. But this whole lifestyle of, I feel like there's a trend for millennials, especially around health and conscious eating. But in 2016, 2017, like, it was just on the beginning, like nobody was doing it. Like, it was like, I'm figuring this out on my own and I don't even know what I'm doing. And so it was hard. But I watched, there was this one woman, Janine Caliborn. She was doing posts, the sweet potato soul. And I was just getting ideas from her on what to eat, how to eat. And then I think by like 2019, 2020, there was more of a boom and there were more and more opportunities, but it became more of a junk food, plant-based foods. And so even now I'm still learning things to eat. Sometimes I end up eating the same things. And so I want to find more of a variety. And as an entrepreneur, life is still like constantly go, 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 go. And so it's more or less still finding the right foods to be nutritious. But the other thing about it is I've seen a direct correlation with me being able to achieve goals because of the disciplines I created. Like there's habits, there's power in being able to resist or say no to something because it builds discipline in other areas of your life. And I think that has been tremendous for me. The other thing I noticed is that my attitude, right, and how I feel changed. I don't know. I'm not gonna go too deep on this. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how it all works. But when I was eating meat, I felt like I had moments of feeling like a little bit of like a depression or like sad. And like, I don't know why. And I'm like, why am I feeling sad? But a little bit of that is what you're eating, you are what you eat. So if the animals or what you're eating have been in a distressed state, you're eating that distress as well. And so that's all going into your body, your emotions. And I noticed that my energy changed and people also noticed it. They're like, wow, why are you so happy? Like, what is all this energy? I was like, I don't know. I'm just here. Life is good. And then I was like, yo, I read the book, The Happy Vegan. I get it now. I understand this whole happiness thing. And it wasn't anything like was immediate. It was just like I could see other areas of my life changing and shifting and my attitude. I had more energy. So, after you eat, you kind of have a sense of like your body's working so hard to digest it. It was just different. And so I like the lifestyle. It's working for me. I don't even call it a diet. Like it is a diet because like, what am I eating? But it's a lifestyle. It's just what I eat and do. And I don't miss any of it.
I love that. Especially when, when you talk about like people saying, what is going on? Why are you so happy? Like I get that. I get that a lot. Like, oh my gosh, your energy is always off the charts. Like, how do you come in every day so lit? And I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe because I like juices and smoothies. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the diet. And I like it because I feel good too. And why be mad at someone feeling good, upbeat, and vibrant? And when you talked about being able to feel good and you like the feeling of feeling good. For me, I also realized not only am I energetic and I'm feeling good, but the obstacles and the challenges that come up and conflict, I'm able to navigate that more with ease, and it doesn't get all into me like oh, I'm now mad and I'm frustrated and I'm hurt and I'm confused. Like I'm able, like it's this sense of resilience that kind of comes through and says like life is fluid, let it flow. How do you navigate through this? And let's just keep pushing because things are just too good. And I heard someone tell me before, and it could have been on the podcast, that when you are eating mindfully and you're consuming a lot of fruits and vegetables and you're intending for your body to thrive off of what it is that you're eating, what it is that you're doing in regards to movement, if you allow negativity and distress and you allow it to be all around you, staying in toxic environments, that food is only going to do but so much for your body. And so it's like, well, why be so intentional about eating and consuming things, wanting the functional nutritional benefits of this food to help me heal and, limit symptoms and reverse symptoms if I'm gonna sit here and just allow negativity to come in and let it win. And so I also like that when you're talking about like goals and you're saying like you started to see yourself achieve more because you started creating discipline within your healthy habits in order to transform your life. And a lifestyle is just how you living. You know what I mean? And you can be living good, you could be living bad, you could be living a little stagnant. At the end of the day, it's just really, how you're living. And I like that you spoke on that because there is this level of resilience, discipline, determination, and this level of how am I showing up for me? Like how am I really kind of showing up for me? So let's get into the power of goal setting. But it was one thing you said earlier. You talked about that 28-year-old, and that's a young age to get diagnosed with breast cancer. And I didn't want to skim through that before we get too into it yet. And I'm definitely checking out the books you mentioned, Stillness and Success and The Happy
Yeah.
Vegan by Russell Simmons, y'all.
Yeah,
Just
success through stillness. I'll see if I can find it on my bookshelf
success
real
through
quick.
stillness.
Okay, here it is. This is the Happy Vegan. This is Russell Simmons. This is what it started for me. And Russell Simmons has his things, right? There's so many things. But I think that it just challenges the American way of eating, a lifestyles that we have been taught over the years. And I felt like this particular book was game changing. I have so many books on here. I love to read. Let me try to find Success Through Stillness. I don't see it here. I won't distract us from it. Oh yeah, here it is, right next to it. So Success Through Stillness. This is the other one.
That's
So
through still.
meditation made simple, and it's really understanding the idea of success through stillness and meditation. All that comes together. You put the Happy Vegan along with that, like it's a whole lifestyle that's happening in these two books. So Russell Simmons, regardless of what he's got going on, his lifestyle and what he's able to do is amazing, because also through meditation, visualizing, you're actually also connecting, right, with oneself. You're being able to tap into yourself and really understand what are the things that you desire, what are the things that you want to happen and occur in your life. And it's a sense of calming. There's so much information that comes at us every day. There's so many things that we want to do. If we can just sit still, we can get the answers that we need and then be able to navigate through life intentionally, right? So I think that your diet, how you show up, all those things, the basic lifestyle, it has a direct correlation to the type of life that you live. So,
So
yeah.
which book would you say someone should read first? Like if they were about to consider reading these two books, which book would you say read this one first and it'll lead into this one?
Well, I mean, it's how I read it. Like I started with Success Through Stillness because I was interested in the concept of meditation and what it meant. And this book came out, I'm gonna read see what year this was. This came out in 2013. And I read it in, I guess it was probably like 2013, probably 2015 when it first came out. I'm a fan of Russell Simmons. Like I was rocking with him since the beginning. And it's like, it's one more book. I'm sorry, I'm going in and out of the screen. I
No,
can't
you're
find it
okay.
at the moment. But there was another book. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, I'm like a fan for real. So this is the other book he came out with, Life in Death. And this is basically Russell Simmons' story about like what it's like to be a businessman and how he started the whole hip hop era and genre. So I've always like, I won't say idol, mentored, impressed by, like, I'm an 80s babies, but the 90s was the key and critical for music. But in this book, he talked about the things that he was doing and how he was navigating. He had his BlackBerry. Actually, you can see it right here. His BlackBerry, his flip phone, like he was like hustling. But I was just impressed with, as a lead, like, what is he doing? Like, what makes him successful? So it made me think about, oh, okay, he's in meditation. Well, what is this thing called meditation? Oh, he has a diet. What is it about vegan? So you think about people that you study, they kind of set the precedent of things that you're doing. So apparently I was studying Russell Simmons in the early 2000s, 2010s, and it just kind of set me in a certain direction. But I recommend meditation first. It sets a precedent what you want to do, what actions you want to take, and then it might lead you into Happy Vegan.
I love it. And that's the way I was thinking about it. But seeing as though you already read it, I wanted to see what you thought was going to go that way, because you kind of want to figure it out, have that clarity. And it's always mindset first for me, because if it's not the mindset, if it's not what your thoughts, your feelings, and belief is, and focus on what it is that you believe, then you're not going to be able to fully be able to do the next step. And the next step is transitioning your habits into what it is that you're choosing to consume and why. And we're going to get into that whole deeper level of your and why. But just speaking to those that are young, and let's say young, like in their 20s, and we're talking about their lifestyle right now, April. Your cousin, age 28, already with breast cancer, you believing that there's a huge link into eating meat in regards to how that breast cancer develops, excels, like accelerates through the body. Talk to those young people, because I was in my 20s and I felt inevitable. I didn't feel like I needed to focus on my health just quite yet, because it's not that time. Talk to the people that are in their 20s and even maybe in their teens about what it is to now start to wrap your mind around the power of food and your health. Just to give them that type of empowerment real quick, and then we'll dive into those.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of times we eat based on how our parents eat, right? Or who you're being raised by, and you pick up their same habits. I wasn't able to really make a shift and start thinking about things, and specifically even reading this book by Russell Simmons, until I was in college. And so I think in college, I was exploring and trying different things and finding out what it is I wanted to do. But the precedent that you set for your life can begin like in your 20s. It can begin in your teenage years. I think the other part about it is, if we're more intentional about what we're eating now, in your 30s, your 40s, and 50s, the future you will thank you for it. So if you are eating a certain way now and you think that you want to change or you want to shift, don't do it the way I did and just go cold turkey, right? Do a little bit at a time. You can start with, and if it's the meat thing that you want to try to transition from, people do like meatless Mondays. Try to start with one day, right, or one meal. Maybe you don't do all 3 meals where you have a meat. Maybe it's just one. Or maybe if you're trying to transition from meat, I started at one point where I didn't eat beef or pork when I was in high school. So I started to remove that. And then I evolved to just fish and chicken. And so over time, I slowly started to take things out of my diet. So I would just say, if you're thinking about it, start slowly. Start watching YouTube videos. There's a whole YouTube university. I didn't really have that when I first started this. But now, even I'm still watching YouTube videos of certain people. Tabitha Brown has been great to watch her journey, learning about how she's doing it. There's ways in which people, I mean, there you can just put in vegan or vegan options or raw diets. You get all kind of recommendations, but try it, explore it, but don't overextend yourself with it. But just know the future you will thank you for what you do today, instead of just waiting until the doctor says you have a problem, or waiting until the doctor says this doesn't look right. Like, be intentional now.
And I love that, and I appreciate you breaking that down. And the last thing I would say is, and when you find something that you like, do more of it.
Oh yeah,
Because
that's
when
good.
you're shifting and you're changing different things and you're trying stuff, you're going to try stuff that you don't like. You're going to say, okay, this is nasty. Don't let that be the thing that says, you know what, this not for me. I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing because I know I like it. No,
Right.
keep exploring, because there were things that you were given before you were even trying to be intentional about food that you said I didn't like. Like, I knew I didn't like chitlins. I wasn't eating chitlins no more. I didn't have to say, let me try chitlins again and see if I like it. Nah, it wasn't here for me. Same
Yeah.
thing with me when it came to okra. I wasn't gonna say, well, let me try okra another way. Nah, I don't like the texture. It's not doing anything for me. I don't want it fried. I don't want it
I don't like it
stewed.
either.
I'm not with Come on, my fellow Aquarian. I'm
Yeah.
not with it. And then I love that you said try meatless days, because meat was the big thing for you, and
Yes.
knowing what it's doing to health. And so for me, it was as I started to be more intentional, and I would already became pescatarian. And then by the time I had my surgery, and we're saying like endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, a lot of that is the root cause is inflammation. And so when you start thinking about the things that causes inflammation, sugars, processed foods,
Yes.
dairy, in addition to the meat, and the meat is getting pumped up with hormones, and you already got a hormone imbalance, and now you eat another
Yeah.
hormone. It's just like, what is happening right now? Your body's like, come on, help me out. And so
Yeah.
I started taking things out. I started juicing and getting a smoothie. So it was like either
Mhm.
juicing or smoothie. And that's how I wanted to start my day. So if you're taking out the meat, put something in there that you want to try that's going to be a little bit more vibrant. Especially if you're getting ready from the sugars, go more for the natural sugars of the fruit, of the vegetables, and just start exploring, because there's so
Yeah.
many different things out there that you wouldn't even know. And then you start combining stuff and you're like, oh, this tastes good. Or this ain't it. Let me
Right.
put a whole bunch more apples in here because this grapefruit is
Right.
not for me. And so remember that it's a journey.
Yeah.
But it's the journey that you should be intentional about. As soon as it creeps into your mind that this
Mhm.
is serious, and that
Mhm.
how I love myself is showed up by how I make decisions about myself and what I do for that. So I thank you for talking
Ooh. I
to
would
the
add
young.
one more thing onto
Come
that,
on,
because
April.
being a foodie, and if you are a foodie and you like to eat, being a vegan vegetarian, you get to eat more. Like, you have to eat more. So it's like it's an interesting trade-off. And one of the things I heard Tabitha Brown say is like, don't look at being a vegan or vegetarian as taking things out. You're actually adding things to it, because now you're trying new things and you're expanding your palate. So had I not made the transition, I would not have known that I didn't necessarily like okra, because now you're trying new things and your taste buds are now open to new things. Like, fried oyster mushrooms? Like mushrooms are amazing. And then you get this idea of cauliflower. Cauliflower is amazing. And it's not necessarily fried, but it's battered. Like it is really, really good. So there are alternatives that you think that you may not like, but once you try it, it's like, oh, I didn't even know this was vegan. Just forget about the label and just choose to eat like a plethora of foods, like eat in color. And that was the things I learned from this experience, is that when your plate looks colorful, that's the more nutritious that it is. If your plate doesn't have any color, you're not necessarily making the best food options. If it look dark, it look brown, and that's like the French fries and it's chicken wings, it ain't really the move, but the colorfulness of it all. And then I also think that eating healthy is also attractive. So when I see other men eating healthy, I'm like, that's cute. But at the same time, when I gave up like dairy, like my skin cleared up, right? And so I think I saw the benefits of how my body was responding as a result of not drinking the milk and not having the cheese. But there are alternative milks. You can do oat milk if you feel like you need that, or maybe there's a vegan cheese. But there's so many things that you can do. But don't think of it as you're limiting. You're opening yourself up to new possibilities, and you can eat more, basically.
Girl, you hit on a good bit of things. I'm a add on to what you just said, and then we'll go into the question. So when you said Tabitha Brown said you get to eat more of it, yes, like you do not feel guilty when you are living a plant-based lifestyle. Like you get to eat what you want to eat, and you start getting full off the things that make life more full for you. Don't let that go over your head. But y'all, it is so good, and you don't ever feel guilty about eating too much because you were able to just really sit there and enjoy. I see people with big bowls of salad before. I was like, ain't no way they eating that big old salad. And then I started transitioning, and I'm like, man, this thing is good. And I was eating that whole salad. I was like, I didn't think I was gonna finish it, but I did. That thing was good. And then you talked about how we're looking for pretty much, we're going after the same texture, the same flavor and the taste that we're used to, that we're able to find in other ingredients that are beneficial, more beneficial and nutritional for you. And so I was talking to one of my friends today. I put up a post in my story from I'm Surviving Vegan, who was talking about crab legs and the not so great things about crab legs. And she was like, she sent me a message in my DM. She was like, man, I love me some crab legs. And I was like, I love me some crab legs too. They are my favorite. And I said, but I tried this alternative, this plant-based alternative using heart of palms that I saw Tabitha Brown do. And I put my own spin on it. And man, those heart of palm crab legs was so freaking good. My mama enjoyed it. My friend tried it. My mouth is watering right now because I'm on this raw journey, so I don't know if I can make that happen. But the raw vibe, because that's when I was cooking it up and using this vegan butter. But anyway, those crab legs were good. So we're being very relatable right now. We're letting you know that we love those foods too. They just didn't love us back in regards to the health span we want to have in this thing called life. Because it's not just, let me just keep, as long as I'm living, I'm going to eat what I want to eat, do what I want to do. No, you should want to have a good health span in the lifespan that you're blessed to be able to have. And so you want to be vibrant. You want to feel good. You want to be able to do all the things you want to do, move, play with your kids, play with your grandkids. You want to be able to live a vibrant life. Be intentional about being intentional. Have that mindset that I know this is what I deserve, and choose the foods that choose you back, because we know we're good for eating food that don't make us feel good after we eat it. Choose good foods that choose you back and move through this thing called life vibrantly. And so I kind of wanted to say that, because you were hitting on some good stuff in regards to food, and you can tell we foodies, y'all, because we just spent, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes on this plate food and our navigating through it. But let's hit mindful eating real quick and clarity, April, and then we're going to get into that power of goal setting. So as you continue to go through your plant-based journey, you notice improvements like, your clarity, your attitude is good, you're feeling vibrant. How has mindful eating influenced like all these different aspects of your life, and how can listeners start to incorporate mindful eating in their daily routines? And you hit on a few already. You already said eat colorful foods, make your plates colorful.
Yes.
What else you got?
Well, I think that one thing that we do always eat, and we're doing something. I learned this from another person I like, Common. He's a rapper. I love him to death. And when I was in college, I'll tell the story really quickly. I promise I won't go on a tangent. But when I was in high school, no, I'm sorry, when I was in college, I majored in TV and productions. And I was a PA, which is a production assistant on a video shoot called The Food, which was with Common, Kanye West, and The Last Poets. And being on that shoot, the food that they had there was basically for Common. So if there's this area which is basically like craft services, and I was responsible for craft services, make sure everyone got their food, and it was time for lunch. And they're like, "Don't touch that. That's Common's food. That's his food." And I was like, "Dang, what he eating?" So he had all these like vegan and veggie stuff, and I was like, "Dang, Common is kind of dope. Like, what is this about his diet? What is this?" And again, this is 2002, so it's like a little bit of an introduction into it. But anyway, what he said is like when he eats, he needs to eat in silence so he can enjoy his food, right? So he'll take the food and then he won't watch TV. He's not talking to people while he's eating. He's like, I'm being present. I'm taking my time to chew my food, digest my food, and enjoy it. So when we talk about mindful eating, that is literally mindful eating. And that was his thing. I don't always get a chance to embrace that. If you have the time and you can do that, yes. But I thought that was just something that was very interesting. So if you have some time to think not only about what you're eating, but also how you're eating and being intentional with letting the food digest, be present and enjoy it, that makes a difference too.
I love that. And when you talked about mindful eating, and mindful eating is one of the pillars. For me, I thought it was just being mindful of the foods that I was choosing. That was my initial approach. I was like, oh, mindful eating. I'm mindful about what I'm eating because I wanted to, treat me right. And then I took a course and a program, a mindful eating program. And that's what I was learning. It's about being intentional, being still, not being distracted, slowly eating, being able to engage all of your senses while you're eating that food. And it showed me as a culture, we're so focused on mindless eating whatever we feel like is convenient, eating whatever we feel like our body wants because we have this unhealthy relationship with food, that we're emotionally driven by food. And so that relationship with food kind of, came about, and it brought in my perspective on it as I dived into the education. But even when we're watching a movie, we automatically think we need that popcorn. Like my mind is saying, I need my popcorn. If I go to the movie, I need to get that large popcorn so I can get that refill before I leave. That quick refill before I go. It's that accustomed to thinking we need to be eating and doing something. We get our food, we need to watch something. And that whole, like, after I did, I was like, well, Ma, come on, let's just eat. And I think she wanted to watch, and we talking about Tabitha Brown, Fridays with Tab and Chance. And
it's Friday.
Yeah. And I know we both Aquariuses, so I saw her this year for my birthday. And we got up there and we did the little Friday dance, and I got to take a picture because you celebrated that birthday that day. You got to take a picture too. So when she came to Dallas, I was able to do that whole dance. We started off with her. But I was like, come on, Ma, let's eat. And so let's eat without the TV. Let's just be present. And she was like, oh, okay. And she went and got her food, and she went right to the couch and she turned the TV on. And I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll try this again. Because I had just said it, but you can already tell muscle memory is we about to even watch Fridays with Tab and Chance. Yeah. Right. And she's like, okay, it's going to take a little while for us to get to that flow, because people consider watching TV as taking a break. And now that I'm taking a break, I want a mental break. I still want to go ahead and eat because I need to eat. And it's like, I don't want to just watch TV just to watch TV. I want to watch TV and I want to eat. And so I love that you showed us that Common was already prioritizing mindful eating in its true essence. And that's when you get to really sit with that food. And when you reverence food as a healing product, you want that healing product to do something for you. You know what I mean? You want it to be intentional. And you want to make sure you're thinking about how you want it to do the things that you're doing in your body. Normally, we say our grace before we eat, hoping the food don't do nothing to us. When it's really, as we're eating the food, we should be eating the food and saying, take this chronic pain away. Give me all of the vitamins and nutrients I need, that any germs or infection. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a whole different concept of eating and sitting with your food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. I haven't heard that before.
I haven't done it many times either. But when the more you learn and you evolve into it, you're just like, this is why I'm eating the food I'm eating, not just because I'm craving it or I have this hunger cue. And that also is about mindful eating. Being mindful of your hunger cues. Are you really hungry or are you thirsty? And if there's something that you want that you know you really need in moderation, what does moderation like that look like for you? Like, does that look like I get it once a week? Because that's not really moderation. You're just limiting how many times you get it. Moderation is saying, I know I don't need this. This doesn't serve me very well. I'm getting to a place where I want this out of my life. So I'm slowly letting it go and not just being like cold turkey is what they say.
Okay. Oh, there's so much you said. I will try my best to like go back. So,
Okay.
dang, JoJo. Okay, so I need to write notes after you
I
talk.
got mine too. I was writing when you was talking.
Dang. Okay, so one, yes, be intentional when you're eating. One of the things I think that helps with that, because it's like automatic, it's a habit, is eating outside and just enjoying nature and just being out. Because we think we need to be doing something. If we're not watching TV, we're grabbing our phones, we're texting, scrolling through Instagram, or we're eating or talking with someone. Like, it doesn't have to be that. So when you are eating, be intentional with what you're doing while you're eating. The other thing I thought was really good is in terms of what you're eating. Sometimes we eat because it's just like we just want this thing. But if there are things when you are craving for something, like, man, I really want a salad, your body is telling you that you need that, right? So when you crave it, you want to pay attention to your body. So you're in sync. And when you are intentional about what you're eating and you do have that mindfulness and you are meditating, it sounds weird. Don't let me shy you to go one direction or the other, but you will have a desire to eat certain things because you're in alignment with your body. You will hear the communication of your body telling you what you need, right? You will know when you're thirsty and you'll drink, or you feel like you're yarning a lot, that your body is telling you, I need to be rehydrated, or you're missing. It's not that you're tired, it's that you're thirsty. So when you are more intentional about your life and your body will respond to you. You'll be more in tune with it. And then the other thing is what you're eating. We often eat just to eat, but think about if you have an ailment or something you're trying to solve. We think we need medicine or we think we need something to like serve it. It's really in our food. Our food is our nutrition. So that whole idea of eat to live versus living to eat, it changes everything about how we show up and what we actually eat. I can talk about this forever in a day, but I just see where you're going. Like, oh yeah, I agree. And. So yeah.
No, and I love that you brought medication into it. People will take medication for whatever the intended purpose the doctor is saying you need to take the medicine for, but they won't look at food as powerful as it is to say these foods can do even more than what this medication is planning to do. And then when you take the idea of thinking about the medication, and I'm not telling someone to stop taking their medication. That is not what I'm saying at all. Do what you need to do for your body. But knowing that a lot of medication is derived from plants, why not just go to the plant source and get the right fruits and vegetables and herbs and things that you need to heal you, because you're going to have less effects, less side effects than taking all of the pharmaceutical drugs that you're taking that's now going to cause all these other problems. So if you can trust the medication, why not trust the food that you know your body already needs and you're going to have to eat anyway? Go ahead. What you was going to say?
I was going to ask you, have you ever heard of the book Eat Right for Your Blood Type?
Yeah, I did. I have heard of it, and I bought the book. I haven't started yet, and I'm O positive. What you got for me?
Well, I was going to say, like, starting out, it can be tough, but our bodies need certain things. So depending on what your blood type is, technically they think that you need meat, and you very well might. But I know one of the things that helped me to get started was knowing what my body type actually needs. And I learned, I think if I remember, and I mean, I'm sorry, I don't remember my blood type. I think it's a, but it's one that is not meat prone, like does not need meat. So I have to just go back. But what I did was I read things and I just go and I just start doing it. And I forget what the reason was. My brain doesn't always remember all the details. It's like, that's all I need. Don't do this. Okay, cool. I'll just don't do it. And I forget why, but it just becomes a thing. But anyway, like for me, when I started to eat for my blood type, that was a good transition for me. And in the book, it actually lists out what your blood type is and what are the best fruits to eat. What are the best types of grains to eat, and it breaks it down for you. So if you're looking for guidance to get started, sometimes I think that's a good way to get started. I just want to just mention that too.
And I like that. And I feel like when you read or you're in spaces and conversations with other people, you're changed after that, because now you're aware, you've gained some insight, some knowledge. And what I love about some of my listeners of the Empower Plates, Empower Lives podcast is they take from our conversation, they learn something, and then they go do the research themselves, take a
Good.
deeper dive and figure it out for them. This is just the conversation starter. This is just the space where you get that empowerment vibe to feel like, you know what? Oh, I can do that. That's within my power. I have the control of deciding that. Let me go make more educated, empowering decisions. And so I thank you for continuing to bring in the books, and I've gotten so many books, and then I have them on Audible, and I'm just like, okay, where do I start? Where do I need to get into? And that's what you're going to help us with when navigating goals. But speaking of books, you wrote Goal Crusher. Talk to us a little bit about Goal Crusher. Where were you? What inspired you to write the Goal Crusher book? Kind of give us the big in regards to goal crushing, and then we'll get into these goals.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Thank you again. I mean, I'm super excited. I love this conversation. But as you can see, I do love to read. I do enjoy taking the knowledge, executing on what it is. But I think one of the things that I've learned about myself is I desire to be intentional about the things that I do, things that I eat. It doesn't always go the way that I plan, but I make the intention, I make a plan for it. One of the books that helped me to do this, sorry, I go back to a book, is this book called The 4-Day Work Week. And in the book, it has this concept called the be, do, have. Be, do, have, right? And so it's all about who do you need to have the things that you desire in order to do the things that you want. In order to have what you want, you may have to change habits. You may have to change what you're doing in order to get there. So in 2015, and I know these years are happening because I read, I go. 2015, I was in Buffalo, New York. That's where I'm originally from. It was a huge snowstorm. I was snowed in with my cousin, and he introduced me to the book. And in the book, I went through the exercise of have, be, do. And it set the precedent for what I desired for my life. And so what I ended up realizing was in my career, I wanted to go to business school. And I made the intention that I wanted to go to business school. While I was in business school, it was a lot. I'm skipping through the courses of what got me there. But I set the intention to go to business school. Not only did I go to business school, but I went to a top 20 business school. I went to Emory University, which is considered the Harvard of the South. That's what they say. And while I was in school, I struggled with being able to manage my 9 to 5 and be at school at the same time. I was all over the place. So I tried 4 different planners, which is basically a method or a tool to kind of help you organize your life, time management, what is your intention for the day. And I realized that none of these planners really set the bar for what I needed in order to be effective, right? So I told you I do the meditation. I'm big on gratitude. I'm big on intention. The planner didn't have it, and I would do it off in a journal. So I started using those methods, and it really worked for me. And I ended up graduating at the top of my class. And even though I struggled, 2 years later, I graduated at the top of my class. I got an award for what I had done in school. It was great. I kept that same energy, right? I said, see, that same energy. I kept that same energy as I went back into work. And I ended up transitioning, becoming a consultant for Ernst & Young. So typically, once you finish business school, it's very natural to become a consultant, which is basically I'm a project manager. As a project manager, I help executives, C-suite executives, achieve goals, right? It's the strategy set by the shareholders, and I make sure they get it done. So execute, execute, execute. And once I was using these principles that I established for myself in business school and with the project management methodologies and expertise, I decided to create my own planner. And I knew I had something when every 90 days, again, 2022, I know my years, 2022, I had the most productive year of my life. In first quarter of 2022, I flipped a single family home out of state. The second quarter of that same year, I became an angel investor and I invested in a restaurant here in Atlanta. Then the third quarter, I purchased a 4-unit/5-unit building. I lived in one and rented out the others. And then in fourth quarter is when I launched and created the 1-Day Goal Crusher, right? The book, 1-Day Daily Execution Planner. And I realized that this planner was helpful. It was helping me hit my goals. But what happened, I see you, JoJo, but what happened is people have planners, but they don't always understand how to go and execute. So I wrote the book, Goal Crusher, to actually help you to identify what are the traits, what are the habits, how do you set a goal, how do you execute? And then when you pair the actual planner along with the book, you put these two together, and now you've got a framework to set your goal, and now you have something to execute. So these two things together, I believe, can help anyone achieve their goals in 90 days or less, because this planner is framed as a 90-day planner. I know I said a lot, but that is the story.
That is an amazing story. And y'all, if you are vibing with us right now,
Mhm.
you're going to be able to get your own 1 day planner. 1 day planner.
Yes.
The link is going to be in the description. Y'all, it's my first affiliate program. I am
Yeah.
so absolutely excited about it. Thank you, April. Man, I absolutely love the fact that you just broke down every quarter you accomplished a major goal. Like you
Mhm.
were house hacking. You were
Right.
investing in a restaurant. You were flipping a home. Like the
Yeah.
things that you accomplished in 1 year, you were able to do it because you were being intentional about being
Mhm.
intentional. You were saying how grateful you were for the things that you had. You
Mhm.
listed out the actions that you needed to take. When you
Right.
take it 1 day at a time,
There you go.
1 day at a time, there's nothing that you can't achieve. And you heard her say she started with her own life first. She started with changing her lifestyle, her healthy habits because of seeing a tradition of breast cancer happening in her family. And so she started saying, you know what? I'm gonna be a goal crusher. I'm going to have, be, and do. I'm
Yes.
reading, I'm applying what I'm reading, I'm vibing,
Mhm.
I want to be successful. So
Mhm.
you have this goal crusher book, you have
Yeah.
this 1 day planner. How can it really help people in regards to using it when it comes to motivation and consistency? Because
Yeah.
people can get planners, people can get journals, but when it comes to motivation and consistency, like because consistency is the key to achieving long-term goals, and you're taking it every quarter, every 90 days.
Yeah.
What is it? Speak on that motivation and
Mhm.
consistency to help people be able to achieve their goals.
Well, I think one of the things that people often do are taught is, yes, set that goal, that SMART goal, but that really is not going to help you to achieve your goal.
Mm.
What's really going to help you to achieve it is understanding your why. Why are you doing the thing that you intended to do? And that's going to inspire you to take action. I highly believe that when you set a goal and you don't have a why, you are less likely to achieve it. And when you have a why, it actually accelerates and it actually encourages you to take action every day because you're excited about what that destination is going to be in the end. So at the very beginning of the planner, I have what is your goal, right? You write it out as a SMART goal, which is smart, specific. I'm sorry, it's SMART goal, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic and timely, or relevant for the R, whatever you think is best. And then the next step that you want to do is think about what is it, right? What is it about this goal that is important to you? Like, why is this important? Why is it important that I do this thing? Why did I even identify this as a goal? And then you want to understand when you achieve the goal, how will this thing change your life? What will be the outcome of that? And then the next question I ask is, what are you willing to sacrifice? In order to get something that you want, you have to give something up to get that thing, right? It might be, I'm going to use diet. I'm going to use what we're talking about today, right? If I want to be a vegan vegetarian, I might have to give up, chicken wings, or I might have to give up
The
um,
crab
the,
leg.
the crab legs. And I'm from Baltimore, so it's a little hard for me to be like giving up seafood and crab legs, but giving up the crab legs, but you're sacrificing that for your own greater good. But the one thing I also encourage people to do is when they have their why is celebrate or identify how you're going to celebrate before you achieve that goal. So when you set the goal with the date, I believe that before you even start working, think about how you're going to celebrate it because now you're thinking about the end goal in mind of like, once I hit this, then I'm going to. And then that gives you an opportunity for something to look forward to. So understand your why. I'll tell you really quickly, for me, that year of 2022, I was able to be successful in those areas because my why behind doing all those things were financial freedom. So everything that related to that, the real estate, the restaurant, the creation of a product or being a business owner, that's creating residual income for me. And I had an intention I wanted to get paid daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, right? So I'm sorry, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. That was my desire. So I'll break it down. Daily was the 1 day daily execution planner. When people buy a planner, it could be come through daily. So it's on Amazon. It's also on Shopify. You can go to www.the1day.co, the day.co. Then I want to be paid on a weekly basis, right? So being paid on a weekly basis, that is my job. I get paid bi-weekly. Then I want to get paid monthly. So that's rent income that comes in from the property that I own, right? Which is the buy and hold, the one I lived in and house hack. So people pay rent every first of the month. And then in addition to that, I want to pay quarterly. So investing in a restaurant, I became an investor where I loaned someone money and then they were paying me back the loan with interest on a quarterly basis. And then I want to get paid yearly. Yearly is a pay that I get from the taxes that I pay. So it's a tax write off. And so when I get paid yearly, I can then take that money and reinvest it into the next thing I want to invest in. So my why at the beginning of the year was financial freedom. So what do I need to do that? And every 90 days I was hitting on something. But there's so many other things that came along with that, the sacrifices of that. To get that goal, I moved to Chicago for a year. And that was something that I did to get all those goals. And then once I hit them, I was like, my celebrations, I'm moving back to Atlanta. I'm getting back home. But I went out there to get what I wanted, and then I came on back. Right. And so now I'm really focusing on being an entrepreneur. What does that mean? And so there's so many other things and elements. I mean, that's the best I can do in a snapshot of time that we got. But that's my story, and that's how it all really came together for me.
I absolutely love the breakdown. Like that was amazing, especially with your four fundamental questions about like what's important, how when do I want to achieve this goal, what am I willing to sacrifice, how do I plan to celebrate? Because if all of those things don't inspire you, the why won't be strong enough. And if the why isn't strong enough, you're not going to achieve the goal in which you said. And then I love the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly breakdown and figuring out how you want to get paid, because your ultimate goal was financial freedom. And so making sure you had an intention daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly, or how you get in the money's coming to you, how you're attracting it, and then how you were able to invest that in. That was beautiful, April.
Yeah. Well,
That
thank
was
you.
absolutely beautiful. I love it. And that was pretty much like a master class, and like less than 10 minutes of really the importance or the vital assistance it is to really create goals. And to say SMART goals is just like you need to start with a SMART goal, but that ain't all that it takes to actually really achieve goals and have that lifetime prosperity that you desire for yourself. And you never said any of these things you had to depend on someone else to make that happen for you.
Nope.
And so I love that one day was all centered around that one person who wanted to achieve their one why, and that was financial freedom. And so many times people get distracted and caught up on all these different things that don't align for them, and make things difficult or challenging. And it's just like, it's still all about you. So you having to have that resilience, that determination to get all that you want to get because you wrote it down. So you should see it. You should be able to reflect on it every single day.
Yeah. And I'll just say this one thing and I'll wrap it up. The reason I also named it One Day is because a lot of times people say they have these one day, someday goals. Like one day I'm going to go back to school. One day I'm going to become a vegetarian. One day I'm going to open up my own restaurant. But then they never take action. So one day is based on the idea of you have dreams, you have goals. And the things that you're destined to do are sitting inside you, but you have to get it out to the world. You were brought here for a reason. You were brought here to add value to the world. And that thing that has been agitating you, that just won't leave your mind, or that thing that you think about, that's what you should be doing and showing up in the world to do. And so my desire is that this planner can help you to be invigorated, to dream again, to desire beyond just the 9-to-5 job. There's so much more in this world that we could be doing and exploring in life if we just take the time, literally one day at a time, one task at a time. Instead of dreaming about it, let today be your day one, right? And you're going to take it one day at a time. But my desire is that this planner can help you or give you a framework to create that discipline. But I do also believe that with setting the intention of your diet and being disciplined in your diet and the things that you're doing will show up in other areas of your life. So I believe in how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you start small with a plant-based shift, that small little habit, that habit shifting and disciplines will show up in other areas of your life, and you will start to grow and evolve and develop. Now, granted, I don't have it all figured out, right? I'm still trying to figure out how these things work, but I know some things that work that can make you effective, and I'm just sharing it so that you can take whatever you need just to get going and being inspired. And I know this community, I know these watchers have been rocking with JoJo all this time. I know she's been inspiring y'all to do some really great things. So let's go ahead and take some action towards it. And again, if you all want to get the planner, in terms of this affiliate link that JoJo has, you can actually get this planner 10% off forever. using the code vibrations. Put in vibrations for a 10% discount. And then we'll talk more about that, and we'll create information, give you information, put in the chat or down below so you all can have it.
Yes, yes, yes. And I thank you. And she's so intentional that she also gives you a nice little card and really wants you to be inspired and empowered to use this and take it one day at a time and not just imagine it, but make this one day a day that you're taking that step forward and being intentional. So I love it. Y'all make sure you click on the link. Last two questions, April. The One Day brand. So give some support, insight, tips for male role models, father figures, partners and spouses potentially, for women who are experiencing painful periods, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome symptoms. How can they show up and be supportive and be a part of this movement to helping in the healing?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things is people can't help you if they don't know what you have going on, right? If they don't know your desire. And I think if you set your intention about what you want and you're asking for their support, like, look, there's this thing, right? Whatever that you're struggling through or you're working through, articulate it and share it and be open about it, because no one can be a support to you if they don't know what you're going through and how they can help. I think if you state what it is, but at the same time stating exactly what you need them to do, right? I need you to encourage me, or hey, I need you to help me out in getting the right foods, or help me to make sure that I'm not eating these things, or hey, I need you to take me to the doctor's appointment, whatever it is. State what it is, state how they can help you, what you need support on, and I guarantee your loved ones and those that are with you, those that are rocking with you, want to support you, they do, but they won't know if you don't tell them. So just communicate what it is, but as long as you're clear on what you want them to do, you'll get the support.
I love it. And have that courage. Have that courage to state what it is that's going on and how they can actually help you. Because even though you might not have gotten it from other people, you might not have been heard from other people, even from other healthcare professionals, you don't know who is willing, who will be listening, who wants to show up and love you and support you the way that you need it. So never stop advocating for what it is that you want and communicating to those you would like that support from. So I love that, April.
Yeah.
Thank you. Last question. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you all eat?
Oh, a historical figure? Oh, Lord. You know, it sounds crazy, and it's my mother's fault. So I'm an Aquarius, and Rosa Parks and I share the exact same birthday, February 4th. And for some reason, my mom thought it was the cutest idea. I'm gonna get April a cake, and I'm gonna say happy birthday, April, and happy birthday, Rosa. So I know we're not trying to eat cake and all the things, but just for my mom's sake, I would meet with Rosa Parks to learn more about what the resilience and what it took for her to do the things that she was able to do in order to have the impact, you know, in the world. So I'll probably say we'll be with Rosa having a slice of cake for the sake of my mother. But I don't necessarily, I can't think of anyone else. That's such a great question. Yeah.
I'm with that. We can go with that. Cake. Do you know what kind of cake it's going to be?
Well, my favorite type of cake is just traditional chocolate cake, like vanilla cake, chocolate icing. My grandmother made the best chocolate cake. So I would probably do that.
All right. I love it. I love it. So y'all, April, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah. So my Instagram IG is IM_April Smith, just like my name is spelled here. And then also for my 1 day daily execution planner, you can also follow me at the one day _official. The 1 day, and spelled out THEONE day _official. And then, you know, y'all just tap in. I also have a YouTube channel. You can look me up there as well. I can provide that information. You can put in the description. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm on live at least every other day of some sort, or every day. So you can find me sharing my planner. What am I up to? What am I planning to do? And of course, if you all want to get the planner, that's an opportunity to tap in with me. My newsletter you'll be a part of. You can get the book. You'll get some great information. So I can't wait to connect with you guys. But most of all, y'all, stay here with JoJo every week. I'm coming back, checking out these YouTubes. Like, I had a great conversation with you. I'm so honored and privileged that you invited me here. So I'm going to be checking you out for sure.
Man, I absolutely love it. Y'all, make sure you get all of the value that is in the description of this video. Don't forget to get your 1 day planner. And if you want to get the Gold Crusher book too, that goes along with it. But most importantly, show up to her lives. because that clearly sounds like a good work session where you can get that insight because it's all
Yeah.
new to you. So make sure you're giving yourself grace. But if it is something that you felt inspired and empowered by in this conversation, and you know that you deserve the goals that you have started to dream about, stop making it a dream, make it your reality. Show up to the lives, get the skill set so you can rock out with this 1 day planner. All right, your 1 day planner. Yeah, it's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Giovanni. Thank you for tuning in to another Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Yes.
I absolutely love y'all, but most importantly, thanks for vibing with us, y'all.
Hey.